Johnny Wharff in another Spotlight interview on our 2022 Marietta High School Athletic Hall of Fame class. Pleased to be joined from the class of 2005, Megan McAuley, and sorry I didn't ask this before we started talking, but how do you pronounce your married last name, Megan?
So I go by Megan McAuley Warye now.
All right, Megan McAuley Warye, class of 2005, and there's a couple of 05ers in this Hall of Fame class. Did you know Maddie at all, Maddie Sweeney?
Yeah, we played sports when we were younger. I played basketball with her, and then obviously she excelled very much in golf later in high school. But yeah, we were friends.
I'm going to jump back 17 years on you, cross-country, soccer.
17 years.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I keep thinking, oh, cool, Megan, I got to do her games, so I know all about her. And then I look back, and I also did the games for the 1988 Amy Barrett, so I guess I've been around longer than most. But for sports, did you ever say, man, I'm tired?
You know, back then I guess I had a lot of energy. I lived for sports, so it was pretty much all I wanted to do all the time. So I was kind of just one of those kids you could not keep out of the gym.
And it looks like you stayed. You know, you then went on to Cincy in track and field. Then you went on to coaching, and then you do CrossFit. So it's something that you just kept rolling, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think it's just somehow part of my personality.
All right, now how about a favorite? Because I've had a couple curveballs on some guys that maybe went on to play baseball at the next level, and then they said, oh, but my favorite sport was really football. So I'm wondering, if we look at cross-country, soccer, basketball, track, what rises to the top for you?
Sure. I think basketball is definitely my main love. It was probably a surprise to a lot of people when I chose to run track in college, and I don't know if you remember, but I tore my ACL my senior year, and it was one of those things where I was just trying to evaluate where I would have the best chance for success. And I don't know why I chose track, but since, running track in college, I've had like 6 knee surgeries, and the last doctor I spoke with ended up telling me, you would have had a really hard time if you would have played basketball in college. So it really did all end up working out. But, I would say basketball was definitely my true love.
Talk about your recruiting process and or, your college aspirations. If you go, as a junior in high school, 04, 05, did you have your eyes set? Were you just listening to people? Or I'm just curious how that worked for you.
Yeah, so I guess, most of the recruiting that was being done was all for basketball. And, I was leaning on Coach H for some guidance there. And I thought I wanted to go play, a mid-sized D1 school. That was where most of the offers were coming from. But like I said, really early on my senior year, tore my ACL, things were kind of up in the air. There was a time I thought about, could I play basketball and run track? Mm-hmm. And that's when I started looking at Bowling Green, which is actually where I went for 1 year. And I think, when I realized track and field was going to be what I wanted to do, that was when I decided to transfer to University of Cincinnati just because they had a stronger track program.
So D1 off. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it was a really confusing time for me with the injury. So there was just a lot of stuff going on, and I wasn't, I was maybe 17. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But yeah, it all worked out.
Yeah, I just think about Division I offers for Marietta High School students. There's not very many. I mean, it just doesn't happen, all the time. And so did that dawn on you at the time that this is kind of a big deal?
I don't think that it did because, my grandpa was driving me up to Columbus a couple days a week, and I was playing on, I think we were the All-Ohio AAU team, and all those girls were going D1, so it was kind of just I think I took it for granted. It was just like an expectation I had on myself, and I don't think I really fully understood that at the time.
Megan McAuley Warye is our guest. 2022 inductee into the Marietta High School Athletic Hall of Fame, Marietta High School graduate, 2005. We're going to take a break and come back and see what she's up to now, where she is and what she's doing, and we'll do that right after this. Johnny Wharff in our Hall of Fame Spotlight interview, Megan McAuley Warye. Megan McAuley Warye, 2022. What do you have your hands in now?
What are my hands in now? So I have 2 children with my husband, Connor. I've got a 5, almost 6-year-old, and then my daughter just turned 1 2 days ago. So that's pretty much what my hands are in now. We actually just spent the last almost 5 years living out in Denver, Colorado for work. And then, when we had our second child, we realized we could use a little help. My son loves, has a great relationship with his grandparents. We actually just moved back to Cincinnati, Ohio, a few months ago. So, working, my son's very active in sports. We try to stay really active. We're outside as much as possible. We're heading to Michigan to go camping this weekend, so we have a lot going on.
Good fun. What about the call in terms of, hey, we want you to be in the Hall of Fame? Maybe you can kind of touch on maybe that call, and then who will be your presenter here October the 1st?
Yeah, sure. No, it was great. I was super excited. Obviously, not something you think about often, but as soon as I, got the call, it brought back a lot of great memories, and I'm just really excited to, go back and say thank you now that I'm an adult and I kind of have a much better understanding of all of the time and effort that people, poured into me when I was younger. I don't think you can really understand that when you're a kid. So I think it's a really special opportunity to go back and say thank you. And my presenter will be Larry Cassidy. He coached me in cross country and track, and I've maintained a really good relationship with him after high school. He stayed in really close contact with me all through college, and we still stay in touch. So he's going to be presenting for me, and I couldn't be happier.
That's great. And this interview, by the way, is going to be airing amongst other times, but at halftime of the game that you'll be down on the field being honored. So I would just take that in and enjoy it. It's certainly a special time. Last thought from you. I've had, and this will, if 17 years on made you feel old, I've been talking to folks about Title IX, 50 years on, 50th anniversary of Title IX this year, and access to women's sports. And so most of the people I've been talking to were in that early 70s of not having a lot of access. But between AAU and Grandpa Drive near Columbus, you had access to pretty much a little bit of everything, right?
I did, yeah. I don't think, luckily growing up in Marietta, I felt really supported as a female athlete. I thought we had wonderful coaches. My parents put me in sports. I think I started sports, when I was like 4 or 5 years old. So I never knew like a childhood without sports. That was my life, and I felt really lucky. I don't think that was another thing I don't think I really comprehended at that age. And now that I'm an adult, I look back and I think, wow, I'm so lucky that I got to grow up, in a time when it was so accessible. And I think, we've only progressed since then, which is also really exciting. I have a daughter, and I hope that, she kind of, I don't know, I don't care what sport she plays, but I hope that she does want to do something.
All right, Megan McAuley Warye, congratulations going into the Hall of Fame. Thank you for your time. I know you're busy, you're chasing kids, you're running back and forth across the country, and you're getting ready to go camping. So we look forward to having you back into Marietta. Thank you, and congratulations on this honor.
No, thank you. It was great talking to you. I can't wait to be back and see everybody.